Amina, we can't hear you. Maybe you can use the chat. Now the next in line is Elvis. Elvis, what did we say about STATA? Anything that you can remember? Yes, Amina, you're talking, but we can't hear you. Sorry, we can't hear you. If you are using a microphone, or earphone, you can kindly try to plug out and speak.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yesterday we started by introducing STATA. You said that STATA has 5 windows. That is the review, the output window, the command window, the variables window, and the properties. But there are other windows, like the window which displays your data set. That is the data editor. So we said that to open that data editor, we can use a command, or we can use up there is data, that it has describe data and data editor. So we can use that, what is it called, which has data editor into bracket edit and data editor into bracket browse. So you click at the data editor into bracket edit, it will open a window which maybe if you have your data set, it will be displayed there. Or you can use a command, you write edit at the command window and then press enter. The window will be displayed, and then after that you can enter your, maybe you want to enter your data manually. So you start by writing, let's say na age, you write 1, going downwards 2 up to, let's say 5. And then you can close that window. Coming to this output window, you see some commands. I mean the review window. We can see our commands there. So these are just the introduction part. And also you go to the variables window, you tap it, and then there's that var1. That's our variable. As said, we call it age. So you come at the variables, at the properties, you name it age. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That is awesome. Now I'm really I can now confidently say I'm a good teacher, because basically that is what we were doing yesterday. So I'll just clear everything right now. Okay, just a minute. Okay, there is no problem. So basically I was saying that is what we were discussing yesterday. That is what we were discussing yesterday, introducing the 5 windows that we all have here and everything. Now we went ahead and entered data manually, and I like the word she was using, manually. We were doing that manually because we were using the editor window and we were inputting our data manually. So that is actually what we were doing yesterday, and I hope we will be doing more of that. Okay, my caps are on. We'll be doing more of that. So now today I have actually shared some data set. Let me just check if yeah, we have this data set. The name of the data set is consumption. I hope you all have that data set and will be using that data set. So today we will start by discussing how to import data in STATA. Yesterday, like Madam Amina was explaining, we were entering data, or rather data, manually into our STATA. And more specifically, we were using the editor window. That is why we are saying it was manual. We were using the editor window. So we are going to the editor window, entering those values one by one per variable. But there is actually an alternative to do that. I was saying, instead of using the editor window, because you are able to see that everything that we're doing when we are on the editor window was generating a command. That is what we were observing yesterday and even today as Madam Amina was reviewing that. So it means we can actually do everything with the command without even opening the editor window. Maybe we just show that we can actually initiate the data entry, and to initiate that you use the command input. So after writing the command input, you need to specify your variables or your variable. So I can say age as one of my variable and name as the second variable. But remember yesterday I was saying, if we just write the variable, let's say name, like that, without specifying the data type, in most of the cases, STATA by default will assume that variable is numerical. It is numbers in simple terms. But we realize the variable age here is actually a string. It's a name. So it's a character, letters, so to speak. So I need to say, or rather I need to tell SPSS that that variable that will follow is actually a string. So I have the function input. Then because the variable is a string, I'll say it's a string. And you can even specify the maximum characters it can take. So let it be a maximum of 10. And I can say the variable name is name. For instance, I want to capture the names of my respondents. So then I can go ahead and say the second variable is age. The second variable is age. So when I click enter, you can see now it has created my two variables. The first variable being name and the second one being age. Now because of the input command and creating the variable, whatever we will do now, we will write as a command, will be treated as they are now the observations for these two variables. So anything that you write here will be considered to be the observations for this particular variable. You can see now it's saying number 1, blah. We don't have anything right now. So that if I open my data viewer, now in this case I'll be browsing. I just want to see what is there, but I don't want to edit from the window. So if I browse, you can come to, you can use the graphic user interface and click on data editor browse to see what is there. But you can simply run the command browse, which can also be written as BR, and you run that. But now I cannot open that. Even the browse command cannot. Why? Because anything that I do here is considered to be an observation. So it is saying cannot read as a number. The BR cannot. So far we can't actually open the browse. We can't open the data using a command because we are currently taking the observations for these two variables. I hope. Anyway, I was saying that currently we cannot open the the browse window, that is the data viewer window, using a command, because anything that we try to do here is being considered as an observation for these particular variables, because we have used the input. So currently, whatever is being written here is considered to be an observation. But what about using the graphic user interface? You cannot read as well. So why? Because you are currently to input your data. So you need to input first. When you are done, then you end the inputting the data. Now you can open or browse your data. So because I've created my two variables, name and age, now I need to pass the observations. Yes, someone is having a question. Oh, I've not shared you the screen actually. Thanks, Lawrence. And you guys are just yeah, I had not shared the screen. So saying, I hope now you can see my screen. And I'm saying that because I have actually generated the two variables, name and age, now I can record the observations in that order, that is the name and then the age. So suppose I have the first person as Ali, so I'll say Ali, and Ali is 22 years old. So when I click enter, that will be recorded as my first observation. You can see one is Ali 22. Now maybe I have the second. I need to get names from here. So I'll be looking at the list to see who are those people. Okay, I have Amina and Elvis. So I'll come to my STATA. I say Amina, and you cannot be older than your teacher. How is that? So let's say 20. We have Elvis. Don't bother if I misspell your name. Elvis is 19, and we have Safe. I've seen Safe. Safe is 21. So we are recording now. We are doing everything on the command. We have not opened the editor. So we are actually using the commands to do that. So what about now? I say instead I interchange. So maybe we have Walter, who is 22 years old. But now I start with the age, so I say 22, and 22 is Walter. So I enter that. It is telling me Walter cannot be read as a number, because we actually specified that the first one is a string and the second one is a number. By default should be a number. So even though it is taking 22, because 22 is recorded, but now it's recorded as a name. You see, it is assuming 22 is your name. So it's now a string, not a value. But now Walter is not a value. And by default, even though we have not specified that it is a value, it is taking it to be a value. So that is now how we input data on the command. So now imagine you have a list of 100 observations. Now you can tell me which one is easier, you doing it on the editor window or using the commands. So once you are done entering the data, you can just tell STATA end. That is the last observation. So by clicking end, you are done entering your data. Now you can browse your data by writing the command BR or going to the graphic user interface and click that browse option. So when we say browse BR, the window will open and you can see I have my observation, Ali, and all that. The same way we were doing the value label yesterday on the editor window. Now you can still do that. You can still do that using the command here. So you can use the function label. And mind you, I said yesterday, one important thing that we'll use in STATA one important feature that you will be using in STATA is the help. The help. So you will always ask for help. So I can say help. Suppose I want to look at the syntax and all that. Label. So how can I label using the command? You can ask for help. So you run. To run, we just said you click enter. Now from this, the function is label, and it is for manipulate the labels in a data. So this is the syntax. Actually, you can use the label command to label the data set or to label a variable. So our case is to label a variable. Now we can, this is the syntax, label, then variable. You must write the word variable, then the variable name, and now the label that you want to give it, and it should be quoted. Now the reason as to why we have this in bracket, whatever is in bracket means it is optional. You can actually have it or not when you are implementing the command. So this is the syntax. Now again, you can see some of those characters are underlined. No, whatever is underlined is what STATA understand as a command. So instead of writing the entire command label, I can write LA. You can see LA is underlined. So that is the short form for label. So once I write LA, STATA will understand that is the label command. Instead of writing variable, if I write var, that is VAR, STATA will understand that represents the variable. And actually, the underlined letters are the minimum what STATA can understand. The minimum. There is no upper bound. You can write the entire word label. You can write LAB, that is lab. You can write LABE. You can write the entire, but the minimum you can write is LA. So there is a lower bound, but there is no an upper bound, and the lower bound is what is highlighted. So now and then we'll be using this help command. You can see we have a lot about the information and all that. And beauty is, it also, after we have the commands, it also gives you an option of how to do that using the graphic user interface. That is the menu bar. So to label data, you go to data, data utilities, label utility, and you label the data set. Now to label the variable, you go to data, then variable manager, and you'll be able to do all that. So now and then we'll be using the help. Actually, it is one big aspect that we must consider when we want to learn STATA. So let's go back and label one of our variables because of time, and I'll say lab. We just saw that it is LA, so I can just say label. So are we labeling a variable or a data set? We are labeling a variable. Now labeling is basically giving more information, like what we are doing in SPSS, more information about the variable. If it is a data set, it is more information about the data set. So I can say label. Which variable do I want to label? Name. You must write it as it is. Suppose I put a small n. We said that STATA is case sensitive, not only to the commands, but also to even variables and everything. So you need to put it in capital letters or as it is. So the best way when it comes to variable, I don't prefer writing them, but instead I can come on that variable and tap that arrow, and it will be added on my command. It will be added on my command. So label variable name. Now we want to give a label, and we can say respondent. We can just say the respondent name. Don't bother about the spelling there because of time. I can just say name, and I close that. And once we do, we will click enter, and you can see here I have my value, my label. Well, there is not even respondent, but yeah, I have, and there is not name, but yes, I have my value label. I have my value label. So that is how we can enter our data in STATA. But now that we have it, we can even go to the edit mode. Once you have it again, we can go to the edit mode. You can browse, sorry, it's edit. It's edit. You can browse the edit window. And now from here, you see the browse you cannot edit. You're just browsing. So basically you're just seeing your data. But now for the edit, you can actually add some values. So maybe the other person was Walter. Now we'll say Walter in the edit window, and then the age is 23. The age is 23. So you have it from the editor window. So once you have created your variable, you can come and do it here. You can as well label your variable.
Yes, Professor.
Like we were doing yesterday. Yes, Walter.
Professor.
Yes.
Yes, I've done the same.
Yes.
But mine it is saying you are currently in the browse mode. Do you want to change to edit mode?
Yes.
So I'm still in the browse. So
yeah,
it's a problem.
The issue is that you can't.
So you can't open both at the same time.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You need to open one at a time.
So I have to close the edit mode.
Once you say yes, close.
So I close the browse mode.
But once you say close, yes, it will automatically close and open the editor. I think that is clear, Walter.
Thanks. Yes, it's clear. So I have a question on that.
Kindly ask.
Okay, so will I lose the data in the browse mode when I put the edit mode?
No, you won't. Now, the reason as to why the browse mode is closing is that in browse mode you are just seeing your data. Now, in edit mode, you are changing some values. So, I need to close the browse mode so that I can edit, then come back and see what has happened on browse mode. Literally, that is the explanation. I hope that is clear, Mr. Walter.
So not. Yes.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, that is basically how we enter data in STATA using the command or the editor window as well. Now, imagine you have 100 observations. Imagine you have 1 million observations. Will you use the command or will you use the editor window? That is up to you. But in most of the cases, you realize STATA will not be used for data entry. Truth be told, we'll use Excel and other softwares, or maybe we are getting that data from a database, SQL, maybe an SQL database and all that. So this brings the aspect of importing data into STATA. Now, one thing so far we have not discussed that you need to take note is that we have not discussed how to label our categorical variable. Suppose we have one representing male and two representing female. How can we label that? That is something that we want to do because it is the same when we have imported or we have defined our variable. I want us to discuss how to import data first. So, how can we import data in SPSS? Not SPSS, sorry, but it's STATA this time, eh? You know, I'm used to, we are from SPSS. Now realize we can import data from various sources, right? From Excel, Excel file, CSV file, and from other software such as SAS, from database and all that. Eh? But now the question is, how can we do that? Now, there are various approaches that we can actually do that. Let's start with Excel, and we'll talk about 3 approaches. Now, these 3 approaches, 2 will be like the same. Now, the reason why I say 2 are like the same is because we say that whenever you use the graphic user interface, that is the menu under the menu bar here, can actually be done using the commands. So whatever you do here using the graphic user interface will actually generate a command. So by using a command after using a graphic user interface is like you are repeating the same thing, but now only a different way, but it is more or less the same. But we said the other day that there are several ways of burning, of killing a rat, even if it means burning the whole house. So we'll even look at that method that we are burning the whole house. So let's start. What is the first approach? Now the first approach, which is very, very simple, but I don't know if you find it that interesting, is by copy pasting. Suppose we have an SPSS, an Excel file, which I'm assuming you all have because I said that. So just go to that Excel file, that is the consumption data set, and it is the very same data set at one point we are using in SPSS doing our analysis. So let's open that data file, and we are using the approach of copy pasting. And now the question is, where are we pasting our data? You realize you are using, at one point you are using the data editor window. So we need to open the data editor window. So we'll just write, we'll just run the command edit. We just run the command edit, or in simple, you can go to the menu here, the graphic user interface, and click edit. So when I say edit, it opens this window. Oh, we also have some variables. Remember, we have some variables, so we need to remove them. So to remove these variables, just close the window. We said, okay, my Excel has opened also, but it still takes some time. We said that to remove the variables, we just run the command clear, and it will clear all the variables, which you can just write CL, and when you run, all the variables need to disappear. But we are still entering. Okay, let me just say end if we are. No, we are not entering. So we need to say clear. And yes, all the variables have actually been removed from the data set. All the variables have actually been removed from the data set. Now, I will say the approach is to copy paste. One of the approach is to copy paste this data set. So I'll just click on one observation and or even the name, and I control all so that I can select the entire data set, and then control C to copy. We all know that. Then go to my STATA. Now under STATA, I'll open the variable, the editor window, where I can edit my data set. So I'll write edit from the command and I run that. The editor window will be opened. I can even maximize that. Now from here, we were entering manually those values. Now this time round we are not entering, but we are pasting. So I'll just say paste or control V. Okay, I made a mistake of selecting that. It is now pasting on only one observation. That I was not supposed to select any cell, but yes, you can click somewhere maybe at the top, and then you control V. Now when you control V, there is this pop-up window, this small window that you can see, the STATA pop-up window, and it is asking me, you can, yes.
Wait, Professor.
Yes. Yes. Lawrence.
Yes, on my end, my Excel imekuwa slow. On my end, Excel imekuwa slow. Yes.
So you are asking me to be also
on my
slow?
End, Excel ilikuwa slow kidogo, tunaelewa machine zingine.
Yeah.
No, you can just start over again, importing, then
So
I'll catch up.
So you have copy. You have
just that.
okay. So we first copy our data set. So let's just go back.
Yes.
So this is the data set. Now we have already copied the data set. So I Control C to copy. Then I go to STATA. Now when I go to STATA, I open the editor window. Now I used the command edit, but still I can go and open on the graphic user interface. So I can say click that edit to edit. Then I maximize that, I can maximize, and I press Ctrl V to paste. I press Ctrl V to paste. Now when I paste by pressing Ctrl V. I hope, Walter, we are together. Yeah, we are here. So when I want to paste, there's this pop-up window. It is telling me the first row on the clipboard contains values that can be used as valid variable names. Do you want to treat this first row as variable names or data? But from our SPSS file, we can all see that they are actually variable names. So the correct choice there is actually treat them as variable names. So what I'll do, I'll just instruct STATA to copy them as variable names. So I'll go back to my STATA and say, of course, is the data editor window. So I'll say variable names. And when I do, I have all my variables. I have all my variables. They have their names. So it is the very same data that is there in in Excel. And I have it in SPSS. STATA, sorry. So what is remaining maybe is to do the labeling and all that. Yes, please. Someone's hand is up. Morrison.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. Kindly come again, please, on the aspect of pasting.
Where are you, Morrison?
I didn't get how you pasted the data on STATA.
So when you come to this variable,
kindly come again.
When you go to this variable window here, the editor window, once you open it, don't click it anywhere. Just Control V. And then there'll be that pop-up window telling you, do you want to paste the first variables as the variable name or data? And you click variable name. So maybe
thank you.
At times you'll have a rough time when you have clicked somewhere. You have clicked one of the cell. Okay, let's call these cells. Now it is taking it as if you want to paste on this particular cell, because you can see it is the second row and it is just that particular cell. So you need to avoid clicking somewhere when you want to paste. So that is your data. So what is remaining now is to save this data. So you can just click save and you navigate to that file where you want to save, your data so that it can be saved. But I'm not going to save my data. I'm not going to save my data because we'll import the very same data. So that is the first approach. I hope it is clear to everyone. We are doing copy pasting. And you can see it is telling us 8 variables with 37 observation pasted into STATA editor. So purely we are doing this one from the window, the graphic. The editor window. We are doing that from the editor window. That is the data editor window. Now the other one is to import the data now to STATA. Now to import the data, there are 2 approaches. Of course, we can use the graphic user interface, or we can use the command, because we said anything that you can do with the graphic user interface can also be done using the commands. Now before we do that, let's clear our data set. Let's clear our data set because they're the very same variable. So we have cleared our data set. Now what we'll do, using the command, the graphic user interface, we can import the data. Now you go to files, or you can go to data, but files, under files you have the import. Under files you have the import. Now from here you have all those choices of data sets that you can import in STATA. You can see we have Excel, the text data, that is the delimited or the CSV file. We have other text formats, the SAS and all that, but we want to import an Excel spreadsheet, so we'll select Excel spreadsheet. Now there's this import Excel pop-up window where now you will browse to where you have stored your data. So I'll say browse. Now you navigate to where you have stored your data. In my case, it is on the desktop, a folder named STATA, and the name is consumption. You can also see here he's saying the format is Excel. So yes, that is the data set, and you just click open. Now when you click open, it will take you back to the import Excel window, the pop-up window. Now from here, you see the first option is import first row as variable name, and I'll need to check that. So the variable case will also be preserved. You can just leave that. Now the other one is import all data set as strings. No, some actually are values, so we leave it. We also have a preview of the data set. You can just see how they are. Maybe you can scroll down, scroll sideways. So yes, import, very important is to check the variable names, and we click OK. Now when we do that, you realize there is actually a command that is generated on the output window. So we would have actually used this command to import that particular data set. So you can see import Excel. Now we have the path, because this is the path where it is just the path. The import, then we specify the type of the file, then the path where the data file is, and we have the name dot the extension, and then we have, this is the sheet. If you want to specify the sheet, suppose you have several sheets, but only one, it is only one sheet that we want, so it is sheet 1. So sheet is sheet 1. Now first row, this one here represents that. Read the first row as the variable names. That is why we have the first row, and you can see our data. We have all our variable names. We have all our variable names and the labels there. Now funny thing is that we can actually browse our data. Now this time around we don't want to edit, we just want to see the data, how it was imported. So you can use the command browse and you'll be able to see your data. And from here you can see, if I try to write anything, it will not accept. It will not accept. Now look at the name. I was looking at the name of the first one. There is observation date and all that, and the labels are there. So I have my data now in STATA. I actually have my data set. So there is another approach that you can do. Now the second approach that maybe we can use, I can demonstrate. I hope you guys can still hear me, because I don't really understand what is happening with my internet, but yeah, you are here. So the other option that we can use now is the command. So because we have imported an Excel file here, let's use the command now to import maybe now what kind of file? A CSV dataset. A CSV dataset. That is the comma delimited dataset. Now remember, that is not an Excel file. Now, if you don't have any, you can do this. Just reopen your Excel datasheet and save it now as a CSV file. So you can open this file, this dataset. Just open it on Excel. If you already have a CSV file, it's okay. You can still work with that. So you can open your dataset. So as it is opening, any question, feel free to ask. So this is what we'll do. As it is opening, this is what we'll do. You will say import. The command now is import. Now, what are we importing? Is it an Excel data file? No, it's not an Excel data file. It is a CSV, which is a comma separated value. So, okay, if you don't have a data file, you can just save this. I mean, a CSV, you can just save this. So you go to files and you say save as. So I still save it on the same location. You can save it in your own location. Now the name is still consumption, but now not as an Excel file, but as a CSV. So you can see there is CSV here, but it is this CSV, comma, is it delimited? That, yeah, delimited. Okay, so you save that. Now I have my CSV file saved. So yeah, just save. Yeah, I'm hoping I have don't save any changes. I hope I have my data set saved as a CSV. Let me just do a quick check. Yeah, I can see here I have 2. So yeah, I have my CSV data file. Now, so we are saying the command is import. So are you importing an Excel file? Not actually. The other day I was saying, and I've seen people struggling to import to not just STATA, but even to R, or even to SPSS, or even to Python or any other software. But now they are assuming this data set is actually an Excel file because of the icon. And you can see this one is very different from this. The reason as to why it is having an Excel icon is because it is designed, in this case, my device is actually designed to open the CSV file by default by the Microsoft Excel. That is why we have that icon there, but it's not an SPSS file. So it is a comma separated file that is delimited. So because of that, I'm importing what we call a delimit. Okay, I have a problem with pronouncing that anyway, but that is it. That is the file. That is the file we want to import. That is the format of the file. Then after that now we have the path. We open and we have our path. So I'll come to that folder where I have my data set. Now this is the folder. Now that location where this folder is what I want. So to get that location, there is this drop down here at the top. That is the location. So when you select that, just tap that, and you can see I have my location. So all you have to do is to copy. So you can do Ctrl+C because it is already highlighted. Then I'll go back to my STATA. Here, and I'll paste that location. But you can see the location is taken to the folder with backward slash. The location is taken to the folders. So I'll put a backward slash and then the name of that particular data file now dot the extension. So I'll say consumption. The name of the data file is still consumption dot now the extension. Okay, so we have pasted the path, and I was saying you realize that path was ending at the folder name. Now we need to have the data name and then the extension and then the extension. So the extension is .csv. It's a CSV file, and then so that is the path. We have defined our path. But now when we run that, it will not give us, it will not import the data. Maybe I try it out. Let's just run that. You cannot, just hold on, don't run from your end. Allow me to just run that. It is not. Why? Because it is saying no, data in memory will be lost. The reason as to why it is not importing the data, our path is very correct, but it is because we have data here already. We have data here that is there. Maybe we have not saved that data. So STATA doesn't want to lose data because it is not saved. So STATA doesn't want to lose that. So the only way, maybe we don't want that data or we have saved it. So the only way was maybe first to clear it after we have saved. But because we had already saved, there is no harm if we clear it as we import. So from that file, I can put a comma. This is now a case where that import command has an option. We look at those STATA commands that have an option. Now because we have an option, we can say clear. If there is any data that is already there, clear, so that you can import. This one I'm commanding you to import. So it will start clear and import the new data sheet. So when we run that, now it has imported our data. Now we have not seen the effect because the data has the very same variable, but indeed it has imported the data. It has imported the data. Now you can see it has actually has some effect because now it has no variables on some observation. Actually, some of these observations do not have a variable because they are not labeled in STATA. I mean in Excel.
Hey, Professor.
Yes.
I think I'm lost somewhere.
Where are you, Walter?
Yeah. Yes, on copying. How do you copy? I've tried, but mine it's not bringing STATA consumption. It's bringing desktop.
Just open that file. Just open where your data is. Like this is the file where my data is. Now because my data is here, there's this drop down here where there's name of on the name of the folder. Now when you click that, you can now see the path is highlighted. So you just copy that. That is one of the options. The second option is actually you can come on that data set, highlight it that way, just click on it, and then
the output.
Then click on properties, and you will still get the location. Here it is. You can still copy the location from there. Walter, are you able to do that? Hello, Mr. Walter?
Yes, I'm able now.
Okay. So that is it. That is how we import using the commands. I know someone saying, my RE team, some of my RE team are here. Now you're seeing here, we are importing the path. Now we are leaving the backward slash as they are. Now in R you have to put, if it's backward slash you have to put them, have them double. Otherwise you need to change them to forward. Yes, you need to have all these things on your head for those all those softwares that you master, but they are simple. Now we have imported our data. We have our data. Now when we go to browse, you will be able to see your data, and you have it. That is your data. But you see, some of these some of these properties about the data are not well outlined. Like look at the label. We don't have the label. Now we have other features we're talking about here under variable properties. That is, they include the name, the label, the type, the format, and all that. You can see when I select like the variable observation, of course I have the type, the format, and the name, but some are not. So yes, we can do this here. We can actually come and have the label there, have the as well as the note there. But what about the categorical variable? Look at here, we have gender. We need to tell STATA what one represents and what two represent, because it is only me and you who actually understand what one represents and what two represents, because maybe we have the data documentation and all that. So we need to tell STATA on these value labels. I mean the labels, what do they represent and all that. So the very same place where we can actually define our value labels, it is the very same we can do all this other. Now the question is, where is that place? So I'll close this window, come back here. Now we can actually do that using two approaches. We can use the graphic user interface, that is the menu bar, or we can write a command. We can write some commands and do all that. Now I told you in most of these cases I'll blend, and let me tell you the fact. If I start using command all through, it is very possible, but I won't be helping you, because the only way to understand this software in and out is by understanding what is really happening behind the command. And literally behind the command is what is happening when you navigate to the graphic user interface. Okay, that is not the behind, but literally you have an understanding of what is happening behind. So in most of the cases I'll use the graphic user interface, then bring the aspect of command, because you have seen what is happening, to show you now how simply you can use it. And as you learn this, at one point you will run the procedure on the graphic user interface, get the command, master the command, so the next time you just use the commands. But it will reach a point as we proceed, we'll be purely using the commands. Now that will be more used to STATA. So from the graphic user interface, we can actually go to, because where we are actually doing this is under what we call the variable manager. That is where now we are editing. Remember, we are editing variables now. We are editing information about the variable. So we can go to data. Under data, we can go to variable manager. That is where we can do that. Now, because I remember when I was introducing this, I was saying most of those mostly and commonly used commands have their shortcuts here on this menu bar, down under the menu bar, like the data editor on edit option and the data editor on browse option. As well, we have the variable manager, because it is commonly used. Every time you import your data, every time you generate your data, you will have to manage your variables, like specify some aspects about that particular variable. So you can basically click that. Also, instead of clicking, you can write a command here, var manager. That is variable manager, and it will open the window. But now, because it is already open, here we go. So by clicking, or rather writing the command, it will open the variable manager. Now under the variable manager panel, or rather window, you can see we have two panels. Like we have this one here where all the variables are listed, doesn't have a name. The one is saying drag a column header here to group by the column. So this is the list of all those variables that are there in the current data set, the data set that we have just loaded, the data set that is actually loaded in STATA right now. So we have the list of the variable. Now to the left we have the panel known as the variable properties. Now basically this is the very same you are seeing here on this panel. Properties now for the variables, that is the variable property. Now for the data, still we can go to the data and open where we can manage our data and do all that. That is now under data editor, but we're not going to do that. So we are focusing on that window. Now suppose you have closed, you can come to STATA and have the window. Or instead of having to go there, we said if any panel, you're not seeing any panel that is actually open, you can come on window and then you click on that particular. So suppose I want variable, but now this will give the one down there, but you can see we have variable manager. So when I click that, it will appear. It will definitely appear, and here it is. So I was saying, well, I'm talking a lot. Yeah, but that's me. So I was saying that on the right of these variable properties, we have, on the right of this window, we have the variable property panel. Now here is where we have the properties for the selected variable, the current selected variable on this variable list. So if I select consumption, it will highlight the properties of that particular variable. The same way it will do on this property panel when we are now on our output window. So under the variable property, we have a number of factors that we can actually consider about the property. We have properties about the variables that we can actually consider and define. So we'll be talking about these properties one at a time. But the fact is that these properties were there when we were discussing SPSS. Oh, this reminds me how to import data from SPSS. We'll talk about that. Someone to remind me that. But let's just finish this. So, what was I saying? Yes, when we were discussing SPSS, when I was introducing SPSS, we were actually talking about two windows, the data viewer and the variable view. Now, under the variable view, we were having the name, the label, the value, all that. It is what is the properties of the variable. Now let's talk one at a time. We have the name. Guys, do I need to talk about the name? And basically, the name is a unique name used to identify the variable. The reason I'm saying it's unique is because it is only assigned to that particular variable, such that we cannot have two variables with the same name. We will never. So it should be a unique name that can be used to identify that particular variable. Now, when we were doing SPSS, we were saying there are rules of writing a variable name. So those rules will still hold, will still apply to SPSS. Actually, I'll say they cut across. Of course, to the programming, there will be some other properties added, like you cannot use a name, there is also a command. Same way here. So some of those basic rules is that we cannot have spacing between the name, and it cannot start with a letter and all that, and maybe symbols and such. So suppose you're importing data and the name is spaced, STATA will automatically concatenate that to one name. It will join. So that is name. That is name, we all know that. Now we have the label. Now this displays the name of the variable, like what is going to be used when you have your output. Okay, basically the label is a description of your variable. A description of your variable. So suppose I have consumption, I'll say on label I'll say the household consumption. So you can even write that from your end household consumption. So I'll just say H consumption. I'm very lazy, so, and also time. Here in Kenya we say masaa ni machache na shughuli ni nyingi. So that is the house, the label. Now one thing that you need to take note is that whenever you run an output, under that output, whatever will be displayed there for that particular variable is the label and not the variable name in most of the cases. So suppose you because it's very logic, by the way, because at times maybe you used your variable name as X, but what X represents, it is the age. So under label I'll have age. That is what will be displayed. I think it is clear. It is clear on what label is, and at the same time I hope I've not lost you guys, because of what is happening today is hard to. Oh yeah, I can see. I was not aware Michelle is here and Mary. Oh, they are here. That is awesome. That is awesome. So yeah, we are on variable manager. Now we have type. Now basically type refers to data type. It refers to data type. Now in SPSS we were talking about different data types. Now here they are kind of different, but basically in STATA we have two major data types, and let me put them in layman's terms. It's either they are numerical, those are numbers, or they are characters or text. They are text. Let me use those two because they are very easy to understand. The data type can either be numbers, numerical, or text. Those are characters and strings. Now this is the data type we are talking about. That is the data type. That is numerical or text. So you can actually learn more about the data type by asking for help. So you can come here on help and say help, help, then you say data underscore type. I told you you'll be using or types, types here, and you run that, and it will give you an awesome documentation about the data type in STATA. It's taking time, but yeah, here we go. So you can see we have data types. We have system storage. We have what we call the byte, the integer, the long, the float, and the double. Now what I need to tell you here is, I was saying, basically we are saying we have actually two data types. Why am I? I'm now taken away from this. Okay. So yeah, we have two main data types. That is, we have the numerical. Those are the numbers in STATA. There is two main in STATA, and we have the text. So all this that we have here is for numerical variables, the numbers. Now what is different is the size, the maximum number it can take and the minimum number it can take. You can all see that. Now down here we have the strings. The strings. Now these are the ones that now are textual. These are text. You can see now we have the options as str to represent string. Now, I was even writing at one point str10. Now, that refers to the size. You can see the length, because here we have 1, so it is 1. So that is how we'll specify the length. Look at here, we have str 2045, and the length is, the maximum is 2045. So yeah, you can learn more from the help, but basically that is it. It represents the data type is basically the data type of that particular variable, the values of that particular variable. Now, whenever you import data into STATA, what it will do, it will automatically assign appropriate data type for that particular variable based on its either numerical or a text. So if it's numerical, it will assign it the appropriate data type based on that particular numerical value that is there from this from whatever file you are importing. But now when you come to variable property, there is a drop down. When you click a drop down, if that data is numerical, the drop down will only list those data types that are applicable to numerical variable. You can see for consumption, because consumption is numerical, I'm not seeing anything to do with str. So it is those that are applicable to numerical. And STATA has found it more appropriate to use the float based on the size and all that. So in most of the cases, will not change the type. So that is data type. Now the other thing is the format. Oh yeah. Now the format basically describes how the data is displayed in the data editor and in the output. How do you want to display our data? Now just to give a more explanation in this, you can see right now I have the format for that particular data as percentage 9.0g. You can all see that. Now basically that first value 9 represents the length. That is, the number of length is 9. So if it is a numerical variable, the maximum number is 9 values. I don't know if you're getting that. So if, let's say it was 3.0, so 3 is the maximum number. So we can write 999, that is 900. But now you cannot write 9,000. And it's not about writing, it's about how it is displayed. Get the point? It's not about writing, it's about how it is displayed. Now, 0.0. Now, after the decimal, what we have, that value represents the decimal places. So right now, .0, it means there is no room for decimals. There is no room for decimals. I don't know if you understand that. Now, at times, instead of having G, we have F. It's still the same. F for format. Now, so let's give an example. We have now, it was percent, that is modulus, percent 9.2F. What that represents is the number of length is 9, and let's say 9.2. I said 9.2. So the number of length on the numerical part, on that whole number part, is 9. Now the maximum decimal it can take is 2. The maximum decimal it can take is 2. And remember, this is what is most important also to remember, is that the format does not affect the underlying data. Like in the data editor, it does not affect. Even if you write more than 9, still okay. But it's about how the data is displayed. It is about how the data it is displayed. So in many cases, there is no need to change the format, but just to leave it as the default. Again, you can still learn more. So you can say help format. I told you, you will learn. That is why STATA is actually preferred, because of the well-documented help command. Helper. You can see help set variable output. You can learn more. On your own. So yeah, ask for help whenever it is not clear. From STATA now, you're asking help from STATA. So when you ask a question, I'll tell you, hey, ask for help from STATA. Oh yeah, up to that point, are we together? Are we communicating? I've been speaking a lot. So if you guys understand what I'm saying, just type 1. If not, type a 0. So just a quick check if you guys understand this. I'm seeing Amina is typing 1, meaning for every point I make, she's understanding twice. That is awesome. Michelle and Marie. Girls are very quick in understanding and very quick in responding. So girls have it today. And that Maria said she's understanding. That doesn't necessarily mean, Joseph, you have to say you're understanding. I've also realized that my internet connection is a bit slow, because I see Seth and Joseph and Elvis. But it is possible could have answered at the same time. Yeah, actually it's the same time frame. So yeah, Mr. Morrison and oh yeah, I see Elvis and Esther. I was expecting that. They'll answer at the same time. Oh, and there is by the way. Morrison, yeah. And Lawrence, kindly say something. We agreed that you are not leaving anyone behind. Oh yeah, when we were starting this class, and definitely we are not. Now the reason as to why I was also checking on that is because we want to look at the value labels. So let me go back to, let me just have the entire window before having the variable editor. Okay, my device is a bit slow. Let me open it from here, no problem. So I was saying the reason as to why I was giving that, as I was taking a break, is because we want to do the value labels. Now the value label is still the same definition that we were giving in SPSS, but the approach here could be kind of different. Now the value label, like we're saying in STATA, is like we are entering information on categorical variable, let's say gender. Now when we have gender, we were using an arbitrary numerical code for the various categories. So say maybe gender, male was represented by 1 and female was represented by 2. And female was represented by 2. Now when it comes to STATA and we want to assign a value label to variable, there are actually 2 steps of assigning value labels to variable. There are 2 steps, unlike in SPSS. Okay, yeah, unlike in SPSS where it is only 1 step. So the first step is that we first create the value label sets. We are creating those value label sets, and then we come and apply each set, the set of the variable, the value label that have been created, now to a corresponding variable. So first we create the the value label sets, Then second, we now apply them to corresponding variable. Come to think it this way. Now which way? Oh yeah, I'm seeing a bottle of water and it has a sticker. That could be a perfect example. Come to think it this way. We are a company that is selling water. Now we need to put our brand on that particular bottle. Now to put that brand is like we want to assign the level to a variable. Now first, we need to create those stickers. After creating them, now come and put them on the bottle. Now it's two procedures. We first create them. After we have them, we are now applying them to the bottle. That is it. But we say the only way to learn data science and data analysis is to do data analysis. So let's do that. Now currently on the value labels there is no any. There is no value label. So to create, that is the first step. You go to manage. So you just click manage. Just click manage. Now when you click manage, there is a pop-up window that will appear. That is the manage value label panel. Now when it appears, you just click create labels, because that is the first step. We need to create labels. So you just click create. You just click create. Now after clicking create, there is another window that will pop up. There is what we call create label pane. Now from here first, we need to give the label a name. So label name, we need to give it a name. Now in most of the cases, we will give a name corresponding to the variable. So I can say, maybe we're creating this for gender. Because our variable is gender, let's just call it gender. So that is the name. That is the name. Now after we have it now, you see here on the right side of the panel, we have the value and the label. Now this is the same way we are doing now in STATA. So you put your value, let's say 1, and now you come on label. After saying 1, you need to come on label and tell what 1 represents. Now I'm not even really sure if we have 1 and 2 from the data set on gender. Is someone's Excel file still open? Otherwise I'll have to browse and see, but now I can't. So let's us, yeah, it was 1 and 2, but I guess it was 1
Yes,
and 2.
1
So
and
let's
2.
say
1 and 2.
okay. Thank you, Walter. So let's say 1 is male. 1 is male. So here we are writing on the label. Oh, my machine is also okay. So I'll say male. I'll say male. So I add that. Now once I add, you can see it here. It is now added. We have 1 male. Now the other one is female, which is represented by 2, and I say that is female. Female. I see it is female, and I click add, and I click add that. Now I have for the 2 categories, for the 2 labels, that is levels. So I'll just click OK. I just click OK, and I close. No, don't close that. So you can see now we have gender and manager values. Now what you need to do, suppose you have more than one. Suppose you have more than one categorical variable. You can actually do it for all before you go back. So on that data set, we have another categorical variable. We have another categorical variable. We have another categorical variable, level of education. So let's also create for that. So I'll click create. Now, I guess it is 1 to 3. So 1, let's say that is primary. Maybe you went to primary. So primary. So I can just click enter instead of clicking add. Now the other one is 2. Now 2 represents secondary. And I click enter. Now I have the third. Now third will be tertiary. Let's say tertiary or something. I know someone, those who are taking undergraduates want to say, not just say higher level. No, it's tertiary. So we have it and we click OK. And we click OK. Oh, sorry, we didn't give a name. There is always a label must be filled. We didn't give a name here. Let's give it a name. Let's give it a name here. So you can select all that and say education. They say education is the key to success, but now they changed the padlock. Kenyans. So you click OK. And you can see it has to appear here. So yeah, we have education, we have gender. Remember, whatever you're doing here, it is generating a command somewhere. But we'll see that later on once we close this. Now you close this, because now, and remember the other options like edit. Maybe you realize, oh, okay, here you can see there's this triangle, or remember plus from your end. Once you click that, it will show you the levels that are there and their corresponding labels, the values and the corresponding labels. So you can click on gender also. You can see the values that are there, or the levels that are there and their corresponding labels. Now suppose you realize there's a mistake, you can edit as well. You can drop. Remember, drop is like deleting it. So if you have any other, you can create. Or remember, you have learned that gender, actually there was a third. Now we have a third gender. Now what is that? So you can add a value. But now we are good to go. So I'll just click close. Now that was the first step. We have created our stickers for the brand of our company that is producing the water. What is remaining now is to take the stickers and stick them on our bottle. Now that is the second step. We need now to assign each value label to the corresponding variable. Now to do that, you just click that particular categorical variable from the variable list. Let's say gender. So I'm selecting gender. Now I come to value label. Under this drop down, when I click the drop down, now they are there. So gender, I want it to be assigned those value labels. So I click that, I select gender. Now I'm assigning gender to I'm applying gender to the corresponding variable. Now I'm taking the sticker, sticking it on the corresponding button, and I click apply. Once you click apply, that will be applied. You can see something was running behind the scenes there. Now I go to the second one, that is education, and I go to the value labels and I select education and I click apply, So we have actually created our value labels. We have actually, for each categorical, we have defined that. So when we go to browse our data, we should be able to see that. We'll just do that in a few minutes. But before we do that, because I don't want to come back on the variable manager, let's talk about the notes. Now basically, notes are just notes. Well, what is that now? Yeah, we all know notes. So notes is like some general notes about a particular variable. Maybe let's say education level. So you can just add some notes. Currently saying there's no notes. Remember, you have to select that particular variable because it is a property of a certain variable, the current selected variable. So under notes, if there's no, you want to add some notes, you can click the variable, the manager. And when you click the manager, okay, it's taking some time from the end. This thing has been very busy today. So you can add some notes here. You can see here this option to add some notes. So just click here and you write some notes. My device will take some minutes. So you can say respondents represented their education level and all that. And once you do that, then you submit. And when you submit, you can see there is it will say here there is notes. So I'll just close that because I don't have time to wait. So that is basically variable manager, how we are editing our variable. Very, very important. So for the case of categorical variable, now I close that window. You can see actually everything that you are doing was happening here. So you can imagine the first step we were doing was to create the value labels. So label define gender, where one represent male and second represent female. We had also label defined for education level, where one is primary, 2 is secondary, 3 is tertiary. Now after creating, now you are assigning, you are applying to corresponding variables. So for label, that is the values in gender, apply that to gender. See? Now for levels in education, apply that to education. So these are the commands. So you can basically run the commands, or you can go to the graphic user interface, open the var manager and do all that. So if we browse our data, now we want to see, we don't want to edit. So when we browse our data, you can now actually see some changes on the data set. You can see that for the categorical variable, we actually have our levels. We have the categories. Now, one important thing that you need to take note currently, and we can all see, is that our value labels, our categorical variable, or rather when they are string, they are textual because they are categories. When we have textual data in this context, we say it is categorical because remember it's quantitative, so it's categorical. So it's quantitative analysis, not that it is quantitative variable, it's qualitative, of course. Whenever we have that textual, that is qualitative variable, you'll find that it is highlighted green. It is highlighted green. That is one way to identify them. So when we import data and it is this, should be highlighted green.
Blue.
No. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you, Joseph. Is I'm colorblind? I don't know these colors, but is this green? On a serious note, even if you didn't go to school, can you say this is green? No. It's so unfortunate. What was I saying? I know, Esther, you laugh. But I said green, blue is my favorite color when it comes to plotting. Yeah, I was just about to say this. Now, taking a case whereby when we were importing our data from Excel, actually the research assistant or whoever was entering that data, instead of having 1 and 2, for let's say to maybe later have a documentation and say 1 is for male and 2 is for female, he actually wrote that male, female, all the way down. And now we have male, female for that, and primary, secondary, tertiary for that. Now we have imported that to STATA, and we have it that way. Now we all know that STATA cannot analyze textual data. It's quantitative analysis. So for qualitative, we need to assign values. So how do we do that? No, it is the same way. It is the same way. You just need to do the same way. Under var manager, just go there, create your value labels, and then apply that to the corresponding values. I think that is clear. That is very clear. That is very clear. Now, one important thing that I wanted to mention about STATA, which I was to demonstrate, but because of time, I'm not going to demonstrate that. But you can explore it on your own. Unfortunately, it is not possible to open or rather to import data on STATA file direct to STATA. I mean on an SPSS data file to STATA. Unfortunately, you can't. You can't import a SPSS data file to STATA, direct to STATA, that is. You can't. But now the beauty is, when you are working from SPSS, there is an option to save the SPSS data file as a STATA data file. So when you click save SPSS file and it goes to that to that file you want to save, you will see down there save as the file type. Now by default is STATA, but you can choose that for STATA instead of SPSS. You see, the problem with me, I don't want to teach these things by just saying so just allow me to open one. Now you guys will be able to see my things. I have a lot of things, so don't worry. Oh yep, here we have one. Let me just open this. So you open that data set. Now from SPSS, you save it with an extension of STATA, so that now you can load it to your STATA, or you can just tap to open it. That is one thing that you must be able to do. Now another important thing that I have not mentioned so far, which you are actually to discuss today, but I see that we are 29 minutes past time. But we also had technical errors. You see, issues. You see, those who are watching football, there's always additional minutes. Maybe the ball was out of the pitch and all that. So if that data will not open for SPSS, you'll do that on your end. Your own. We all have STATA data file. Now so far, okay, I'll just close this. I didn't click open this. Let me just say open. Okay, just open. Take your time to open. Now I was saying, so far we were using the command panel here to write the commands and execute them. But what about when we now want to maybe later on come back, rerun the analysis? Maybe we have the very same data set and we want to rerun the analysis, and we didn't save the commands. You see, when we execute the commands here, they are not being saved. But we have a preview of the commands here. So the other time was showing you an option. Okay, I see the STATA data file has opened. SPSS. So this is what I'm saying. You go to files, and now save as. We are saving the data file. So I'll just click save as. Now here you see there is an option, save as type. there's a drop down. So from here you can select STATA. STATA. So you'll scroll down and you can also see SAS, you can see STATA. So it is saving to STATA, then there are versions. STATA version 6, ours is version, ours is version 15. Okay, but I'm sure this is SPSS version 20 that I've used to open the data file, but I'm sure maybe version 26 will have to version 15. But yes, you can select. Remember, our version is IC, not SE. So let me just save this STATA version 6.dta. So save that, and now you save. But let me change the location. Let me just go to which now. Okay, let me just go to my desktop. Save on this. So yeah, save there. So it will run all that and save and all that. Then I'll close this software because I don't know anything about SPSS. Now we have our data. We can actually come and open it. Let me just go to that file where I've saved. Here it is, the STATA. You can see it is having an icon of STATA and it is saying STATA dataset. So you can just double tap and open it. So when you have an SPSS data file, that is what you can do. Now where is Walter coming from? So I was saying, whatever we've been doing currently, we have been doing that on the command window. Now suppose we want to rerun this output later on. How can we do that? Now yesterday I said you can copy all these commands, remove the errors, you highlight all of them, remove the errors, you copy them, then you work on what we call a do file. A do file. Actually, it is wiser to always work with a do file, because a do file is a STATA file where you can record all your commands that you are using and be able to run all those commands or each command one by one. And most importantly is that we can save those commands on that particular do file so that later on we can access and use them. So yesterday we said to open a do file, you just come there, you click a new do file, you click a new do file, and it will open on a new window. So click that. My machine is really slow today. Okay, but I have the do file. So because I've copied the command, you can paste them there. But it is always wiser to write all these commands here. And that is what we'll be doing next time. Now, after you have all your commands here, you can actually save. You see there's a save option. You save, there's a save option. So when I click save, it will save. It will lead me to where I want to save. So I'll select that file and I say I can name these commands because it is what is storing the commands. So commands. So I'll click save. I'll click save. So it is always wise to work on a do file. So next time we want to be writing commands here, but we'll be writing on do file. So that at the end of the day, there is no need of us coming to come and copy and do all that, but to just have them here. It is always wise to use a do file. Now, that is how we save our do file, our commands. Now, we still have something we need to save, the data. How do we save the data? Now, here we have an option already to save. You actually don't have to open the data editor. Now, you just click that and the data that is currently available in STATA will be saved. So you click that, and when you click that, it will go to where you will now have to navigate to that file where you want to save your data, and I say data. Maybe I give it a name data, and I click save. So you see, so far we have files saved. We have 2 files saved. One, we have the data is saved on a separate file that is with an extension of the .dta. We have our commands saved on what we call a do file, .do, that is. But there is something important we are not considering. What about our output? Is our output saved somewhere? No, it's not, because this option is to save the data. So at the end of the day, you will end up with 3 separate files from STATA. The data file, the file with the commands, that is a do file, and the log file, the file with output. So the question is, how do we create the log file to save the output? Now, we are at 38 minutes past time. Is what Joseph will be saying. So I was saying that now the question is, how do we create our log file? And again, I was saying it is our log file that can save our output. But again, I was saying we are actually 40 minutes past time. We are actually 40 minutes past time. So I think it is wise to discuss how to create a do file next time, because some of you here tomorrow need to go to some classes, some need to go to work and all that. So yeah, we can discuss how to save the output in the next lesson, but so far know how to save the data file, the commands, but you can even explore how to save the output. And I've just said you use the log file. So any question, any point that is not clear, any concern,